It is not practical to become angry with anyone who previously was able to determine who you are and what you are going to do and therefore, doing. It would be wise to find out of why you were so transparent in the eyes of everyone else except yourself. This day and time many are simply human remote controls in the hands of many who are able to possess insight into the reality of others' capabilities according to environment and characteristics of being overly sensitive to matters that are less than apparent. Many who dependent upon others' point of views are manipulated to think and feel that those in their midst are in support of what is best for their well-being, when they simply are withholding certain facets of truth which they know if was distributed, would handicap their ulterior motives. The withholding of truth is no distinction of being a murderer. The observer who is placed in the limited position because of lies, and is able to see of how transparent both parties are and of how very detrimental they are for one another is in a more secured position. The observer is predisposed to learn even more so, the essence of moving forwards without having the opportunity to invoke an intellectual resolution. One day a wise man said, "Nothing." The intellectual is left to learn and accept that they are not always destined to be an arbiter for a healing of the gods, and is left to simply walk away for the sake of learning another aspect of acceptance and its counterpart, humility. We learn how to understand real humility by struggling to understand its nature and vast purpose to preserve ourselves within a world of disorder and love. As time prevails we are gifted to observe through our responses to life a more calmer demeanor as we develop. We come to understand that maturity is when your responses are no longer reactions. You come to possess a wisdom outside of the realm of minimal knowledge. And one finally after so many years living come to know that most of what he or she has suffered through and struggled through, forever possessed a solution which is incredibly simple. What is revealed of who made all of which more complicated than it truly was, has forever been the one in the mirror each morning risen with the sun. Always be willing to be transparent to yourself. Once this is established only then are matters of your journey clearer. We live in times of when things transpire that are perceived as unfortunate, is fortunate for others involved. I find the duality in this movement called living and so because of its dual design, those pleasant times are not permanent nor are the unpleasant times. The movement, being, is a direct description of a moving and therefore living reality. A living, moving presence we are within. I find in this a dual compartment which contains individually a vital lesson which one and the other must learn for their minds to be risen into the state of emanate for the sake of being distinguished further into revealing portions of the self so to never have to learn the primary meaning of what need to be done, to come to the place of where one can exist in this living experience in tranquility. What has been structured and established into power by this Western culture by our submission rather it is money, the need for food or anything that we have been programmed to depend upon, rules the minds of the human beings to the degree that living has become a struggle. A struggle which many this day feel that if you lack anything that this Western culture deems as useful, valuable or has substance to trade, then the human being looks upon one another as having no sustainability, no value. This of course is not true. Every experience holds a dual chamber imbued into it, where some will get it, some will not, as well as some get the lesson and yet still reject the truth of it because of ego or being narcissistic. The most dangerous act that anyone can commit is having an ulterior motive hidden from one whose intentions were innocent. One will find that what was expected was not only a fantasy, but a human being who is gravely inconsistent and cruel because of being ruled by the demands designed into this government system in which causes a coldness in people which to them feels justified. It feels justified because of the demands placed into the conditioning process for to rule as well as destroy the people who are the governed. The attack upon humanity itself. But this will all come to a close soon. Hold yourself together, because this was all put in place to pull you out of that place inside of where there is soundness of mind. The world is becoming a dwelling place that is populated with the presence of a moral surface nuisance that reveals a people who are walking contradictions. What many this day are up against for the sake of survival upon many aspects, is how to respond to those in your presence who are destructive of other human beings inside regarding possible effects of oncoming dissension that could affect the mind and soul. We all were created above what we face this day. This is simply a journey of coming to remember of how enlightened we have always been. This is the season of a purging of the self. Embrace it. Written by David Anthony Brayboy.